Every empire in history followed the same pattern. From the sun-scorched stones of Mesopotamia to the gleaming steel towers of the modern world, a single, undeniable rhythm pulses through the veins of civilization. It is a cycle of birth, growth, and decay. A story told not just in the annals of kings and conquests, but in the silent, ever-present language of money. We look at the ruins of Rome, the faded grandeur of the Ottoman court, or the intricate canals of the Venetian Republic, and we see the ghosts of power. But what we are truly witnessing are the consequences of economic choices, the echoes of a financial wisdom that was first mastered and then tragically forgotten. These were not just political or military entities. They were vast economic engines. Their rise was fueled by a deep, intuitive understanding of value, trade, and capital. Their decline was sealed the moment that understanding became clouded, complex, and ultimately ignored. This pattern is not a relic of the past. It is a living principle, repeating itself today in the fortunes of nations, corporations, and individuals. The same forces that built and broke the empires of old are at work in our own lives, shaping our financial destinies with an invisible but unyielding hand. It started with discipline, not the discipline of the soldier in the phalanx, but the quiet, consistent discipline of the citizen. The discipline to save more than was spent. The discipline to delay gratification today for a more prosperous tomorrow. The discipline to build, brick by brick, drachma by drachma, a foundation of surplus. In early Rome, this was the ethos of the farmer-citizen, who understood that a portion of the harvest must be stored for winter, not just for survival, but for the seed of next year's growth. This principle of deferred consumption, of valuing the future over the present, is the bedrock of all economic progress. It is the humble, unglamorous act of setting something aside, of creating a buffer against uncertainty and a springboard for opportunity. Without this foundational discipline, no grand strategy can be sustained, no lasting wealth can be built. It is the first, most crucial step on the path from subsistence to surplus. Then, upon this foundation, it grew with strategy. With surplus came the luxury of thought, the ability to plan beyond the next harvest. Strategy is the art of deploying capital, not just hoarding it. It's the Roman road, not just the Roman coin. It's the Venetian trade route, not just the Venetian ducat. Strategy transforms savings into investment, and investment into growth. It's the understanding that money must be put to work, to flow through the arteries of commerce, to build ships, to fund ventures, to create new markets. The strategists of history were not just generals, they were merchants, bankers, and innovators who saw how to connect surplus with opportunity. They understood leverage, risk, and the time value of money, even if they didn't use those modern terms. They knew that a coin buried in the ground is a dead thing, but a coin invested in a trading vessel could return 100-fold, and it collapsed when people forgot how money actually works. This is the final inevitable act in the drama. The collapse begins not with a barbarian invasion, but with a subtle corruption of thought. It happens when a society becomes so prosperous that it mistakes the symbols of wealth for wealth itself. It happens when discipline erodes, when the state begins to spend more than it earns, and when the currency, the very measure of value, is debased to cover the shortfall. The Roman Empire didn't fall overnight. It slowly hollowed itself out by clipping its coins, mixing silver with cheaper metals to fund its ever-expanding bureaucracy and military. The citizens, in turn, lost faith in the money. They began to hoard the old, pure coins and spend the new, debased ones. Commerce ground to a halt. The complex web of trade that held the empire together disintegrated. People forgot that money is not wealth. It is a claim on wealth, a tool for exchange, built on a foundation of trust. When that trust is broken, the system collapses. The engine seizes, and the long, slow decline begins. Most people think getting rich is about luck. They see wealth as a lightning strike, a winning lottery ticket, a speculative stock that explodes overnight, an inheritance from a forgotten relative. It's a narrative fed by headlines and Hollywood, the idea that fortune is a random event, a game of chance where the average person has little to no agency. This belief is comforting because it absolves us of responsibility. If wealth is just luck, then poverty is just misfortune. It's an external force, a roll of the cosmic dice, and we are merely passive observers of the outcome. But this is a profound and crippling misunderstanding of reality. While luck certainly plays a role in the specifics of anyone's story, being in the right place at the right time, it is not the architect of enduring wealth. Luck is a gust of wind. It can give you a momentary push, but it cannot steer the ship. Relying on luck is not a strategy. It is the absence of one. It is a surrender to chaos. The truth is that wealth is governed by rules, whether you know them or not. Just as the universe is governed by the laws of physics, the world of finance is governed by a set of immutable principles. These rules operate silently, consistently, in the background of our lives. They don't care about your hopes, your dreams, or your background. They are impartial and unforgiving. They dictate the flow of capital, the power of compounding, the erosion of inflation, and the relationship between risk and reward. You can choose to ignore these rules, but you cannot escape their consequences. Ignorance is not a shield. It is a liability. It's like trying to build a skyscraper without understanding gravity. You might get a few floors up, but eventually, inevitably, the entire structure will come crashing down. The people who build lasting wealth are not the luckiest people. They are the people who have taken the time to understand this invisible architecture. They have learned the rules of the game, and they play it with intention, discipline, and a long-term perspective. In this video, we're breaking down 25 money rules that have existed through every empire, every financial system, and every generation. These are not get-rich-quick schemes or trendy investment tips. They are not secrets whispered in exclusive boardrooms. They are fundamental truths that have been proven time and time again across centuries of human experience. We will trace their origins from the clay tablets of Babylon, where the first rules of interest were recorded, to the bustling markets of the Renaissance, where the principles of modern banking were forged. We will see how these same rules applied to the Dutch tulip mania of the 17th century and the dot-com bubble of the 20th. The technology changes, the assets change, the names on the ledgers change, but the underlying principles remain constant. Whether the asset is a shipload of spices, a portfolio of stocks, a piece of real estate, or a string of digital code, these rules determine who profits and who loses. They are the operating system for the global economy, and learning them is like learning to read the code. We have distilled centuries of economic history and financial wisdom into a clear, concise, and actionable framework. These rules form a system, a blueprint for financial sovereignty. They are interconnected, each one reinforcing the others. Understanding one rule in isolation is helpful, but understanding the entire system is transformative. It's the difference between knowing a single word and being fluent in a language. Ignore them, and you stay broke. To ignore these rules is to swim against a powerful current. You may struggle, you may thrash, you may even make temporary progress, but you are constantly expending energy just to keep from being swept away. It means a life of living paycheck to paycheck, a constant state of financial anxiety where one unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, can trigger a crisis. It means being a perpetual consumer, a debtor, a pawn in a game where you don't even know you're playing. Your wealth is silently siphoned away by inflation, by fees, by poor decisions, leaving you to work harder and harder just to stand still. This is the default setting for most of the world. It is a life sentence of financial mediocrity, not by decree, but by ignorance. Follow them, and wealth becomes predictable. This is the most powerful idea of all. When you understand and apply these rules, wealth ceases to be a mystery. It becomes a process. It becomes an outcome that can be engineered. It's no longer a matter of if, but when. Following these rules means you start swimming with the current. You harness the powerful forces of compounding, of leverage, of value creation, and you put them to work for you. Your money starts working for you, instead of you always working for it. Financial decisions become clear instead of confusing. You build a fortress of assets that protects you from economic storms and provides a foundation for true freedom, the freedom to choose your work, to spend your time as you see fit, and to build a legacy that lasts. Wealth is not the goal. Wealth is the tool. The goal is the life that the tool makes possible, and it all begins with learning the rules. Wealth never flows to emotion. Emotion drives impulse buys and panicked selling. Discipline, however, is the quiet force that builds fortunes, one deliberate choice at a time. It flows to people who control their spending, their decisions, and their time. This is seen in the simple act of automating savings, or resisting the urge to chase volatile market trends. Consider the Roman Empire. Its vast wealth was built on the rigorous discipline of its engineers and administrators. Every empire collapsed when discipline disappeared. Master your impulses before you attempt to master your money. Because before dollars, euros, or yen, discipline is the first currency. Cash feels safe. It's tangible, predictable, and sits in your account without the volatility of the markets. But safety is not the same as growth. History shows us that currencies are fragile. From the Roman denarius to the German mark, when governments print more money, the value of each dollar, pound, or peso you hold falls. This is inflation, a silent tax on your savings. Cash loses value quietly. The wealthy understand this. They use cash as a tool, not as a final destination for their wealth. It is a temporary vehicle, used to acquire assets that generate income or appreciate in value, like businesses, real estate, or stocks. Assets pay you, liabilities drain you. Most people confuse consumption with success. The wealthy measure success by ownership. Debt is a tool, as neutral and as powerful as a blacksmith's hammer. In the hands of a master, it can forge an empire. In the hands of the unskilled, it can shatter fortunes. This duality is the key to understanding its role in the architecture of wealth. It is not inherently good or evil. It is merely an amplifier. Debt destroys the uneducated. Debt multiplies the disciplined. The uneducated see debt as a shortcut to consumption, a way to acquire the lifestyle they desire today, at the expense of their freedom tomorrow. They borrow for depreciating assets, the new car, the lavish vacation, the latest electronics. Each purchase adds a link to a chain of interest payments, a self-imposed servitude that drains their future income. This is the path of financial fragility, where one unexpected expense can trigger a cascade of failure. It is a trap, baited with instant gratification. The disciplined, however, view debt through a different lens, the lens of history. Empires use debt to expand, not to consume. Consider the British Empire in the 18th century. It financed the Royal Navy, the most formidable military force of its time, not through taxation alone, but through the issuance of government bonds. They borrowed vast sums of money, but they didn't spend it on fleeting luxuries. They invested it in an income-producing enterprise, a global network of trade and control. The Navy protected shipping lanes, secured resources, and enabled a commercial dominance that generated far more wealth than the interest on their loans. They borrowed to build a system, and that system paid for itself many times over. The same principle applies today, just on a different scale. The disciplined individual operates like a micro-empire. They understand the critical distinction between productive and consumptive debt. Consumptive debt is a loan for a liability, something that takes money out of your pocket. Productive debt is a loan for an asset, something that puts money into your pocket. A mortgage on a primary residence can be a gray area, but a mortgage on a rental property is a clear example of productive debt. The loan allows you to acquire an asset that generates income. That rental income is then used to service the debt, pay for expenses, and ideally, produce a surplus. The debt becomes a lever, allowing you to control a large, appreciating asset with a fraction of its total cost. The same logic applies to a business loan used to purchase equipment that increases production and profits. This is the fundamental shift in mindset. The undisciplined ask, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" The disciplined ask, "Will this asset pay for itself and generate a return?" The rule is simple. If debt doesn't produce income, It's a trap. Before taking on any new debt, subject it to this single, ruthless question. Does it build your capacity to generate future income, or does it simply fund today's desires? One path leads to leverage and growth. The other leads to a cycle of payments and regret. The choice of which path to take lies not in the debt itself, but in the discipline of the one who wields it. Most millionaires didn't get rich from salary. Income feeds survival. Assets build freedom. Money grows when time is respected. Compounding rewards patience. Most people quit before compounding starts. Governments don't need to raise taxes. They print. The wealthy protect purchasing power. The poor protect cash. Skills create income. Ownership creates wealth. Empires were built on ownership of land, trade routes, data, and assets. Motivation fades, systems compound. The wealthy build routines that make good decisions automatic. Markets reward patience. They punish panic. Fear and greed transfer money from the emotional to the disciplined. Real wealth is quiet. It's built slowly. If it looks exciting, it's usually risk, not strategy. The 12th rule is a timeless principle. The crowd is always late. By the time an investment is popular enough to make headlines, the smart money has already positioned itself and is preparing to exit. Consider the Dutch tulip mania. As the public rushed in, early investors quietly sold, leaving latecomers with worthless bulbs. This pattern repeats, from dot-com stocks to crypto fads. True opportunity lies in identifying value before it becomes obvious. Your task is to act on analysis, not applause. Concentration can build wealth. Diversification protects it. Empires that relied on one resource always fell first. Every empire shift followed technology. Printing press, electricity, internet, AI, and blockchain. The wealthy position early, not emotionally. Bitcoin exists because trust failed. Smart money treats crypto as insurance, not a gamble. Most fail. A few reshape industries. The wealthy size risk accordingly. Markets fluctuate. Businesses endure. Ownership of productive companies built every modern empire. The wealthy don't evade taxes. They structure legally. Taxes punish ignorance, not success. Empires rise where capital, talent, and opportunity meet. Money flows to environments that reward productivity. Information is free. Understanding is rare. The wealthy study history, cycles, and psychology. Boom, bust, recovery. Every empire experienced cycles. Smart money plans for them. Saving preserves. Investing multiplies. The wealthy deploy capital strategically. Time freedom comes from assets, not hours worked. Empires were built by owners, not workers. Wealth rewards consistency. Most people stop right before momentum starts. Every empire rose quietly. By the time people noticed, it was already too late to catch up. We have reached the end of our journey through the timeless principles of wealth. And as we stand here, at the confluence of past, present, and future, a familiar saying comes to mind. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. The technologies change. The currencies evolve. The names on the maps are redrawn. But the underlying patterns, the fundamental human behaviors that drive economic cycles, remain remarkably consistent. The same symphony of greed and fear, of innovation and obsolescence, plays out across the centuries, just with different instruments. Empires rise. They build roads, establish trade, and mint currencies that become the bedrock of commerce. Consider the Roman Empire. For centuries, its silver denarius was the world's reserve currency, a symbol of stability and power. Merchants from Britannia to Persia trusted its value. Empires fall. The fall is never sudden. It's a slow erosion, a quiet decay of principles. Roman emperors, faced with mounting military costs and lavish spending, began to debase their currency. They mixed the silver with cheaper metals, creating more coins from the same amount of precious metal. They chose the printing press of their day over fiscal discipline. The result was predictable. Inflation spiraled out of control. People's savings, held in what was once the world's strongest currency, evaporated. Trust vanished. Trade collapsed. The economic foundations of the empire crumbled long before the final barbarian invasion. The rhyme is unmistakable. The sound of the Roman mint working overtime echoes in the hum of modern printing presses and the digital entries of central banks today. The story of the denarius is a stark reminder of a core principle. But the rules of money never change. These rules are the physics of finance. They are impartial and unforgiving. They govern the grain trades in ancient Babylon, just as they govern the algorithmic trading of today. The first rule is that money must be a store of value. It must be scarce and difficult to produce, a principle forgotten in an age of infinite digital printing. The second is that wealth is not money, it is the ownership of productive assets. A farm, a business, a skill that solves a problem for society. These are the true engines of prosperity. The third is the immutable power of time. Compounding interest, as we've seen, is a force of nature. It can be your greatest ally, building fortunes from humble beginnings, or your most formidable foe, burying you under a mountain of debt. The fourth is that systems are superior to goals. A goal to be wealthy is merely a wish. A system of saving, investing, and learning, practiced with discipline, is a machine that manufactures wealth. Understanding these rules separates a life of financial freedom from a life of quiet desperation. If you understand them, wealth becomes predictable. Not easy, but predictable. You begin to see the world not as a series of random events, but as a landscape of opportunities and risks that can be navigated. You stop chasing get-rich-quick schemes and start building a resilient financial fortress, brick by brick. You trade short-term gratification for long-term sovereignty. You are no longer a passenger tossed about by economic storms, but the captain of your own ship, charting a course towards a destination of your choosing. If you ignore them, struggle becomes permanent. You become a pawn in a game you don't understand. You work harder and harder, only to see your gains eaten away by inflation and taxes. You fall victim to the cycles of boom and bust, buying high in a panic and selling low in despair. You live in a state of constant financial anxiety, always one unexpected expense away from disaster. This is the default setting for the majority. It is the path of least resistance, and it leads to a lifetime of running on a hamster wheel. The knowledge of these rules has always been available, hidden in plain sight within the pages of history, in the biographies of the successful, and in the quiet logic of mathematics. Yet, it remains a secret to most. Most people won't learn these rules. They will be too distracted by the noise of the daily news cycle, too seduced by the promise of easy money, or too discouraged to believe that financial freedom is possible for them. They will choose comfort over curiosity and certainty over growth. But you are not most people. You chose to seek out this knowledge. You invested your most valuable asset, your time, to understand the fundamental principles that govern the flow of wealth through the world. You just did.